Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I've been wanting to make this for a while now because I was looking online and I really couldn't see a lot of information talking about the GW690. And honestly, I couldn't tell you why. I think this camera is fantastic. The negatives are ginormous and it's really just a joy to use. So I want to make a video kind of outlining the camera and showing some images. I know that a lot of people, when they buy a new camera, they use YouTube, they use Instagram as almost a buying guide before they spend money and actually buy the camera. So I hope this helps somebody decide whether they do or maybe don't want this camera. But yeah, so going into it. First we got the top plate. You have the shutter button, the film advance, and the film counter, all pretty standard. The film advance is a double stroke. It's more of a stroke and a half, I guess I would call it, but you get used to it really fast. It's nothing that gets annoying. It's really smooth. It's all very standard in that regard. It reminds you a lot of a 35mm camera. So if you're used to shooting, like even a Nikon, that feel still feels very familiar, I guess. Next to that, you have the exposure selector. So you have three different options, two for 120 and one for 220. I know a lot of film companies don't make film stocks in 220 anymore, so you probably won't be using that. So for the 120 options, you have a 4 exposure, an 8 exposure, and then for the 220 you do have a 16 exposure. So in most cases you're only getting 8 exposures per roll, so this camera really makes you kind of slow down and think about the pictures you're composing and the money that you're spending on those pictures. Because at least by me it translates to about a dollar or so per picture, so it really makes you think, is this picture worth $1? But with that being said, it really slows you down, and I really enjoy that. So right next to that you have a cold shoe, and then to the left of that you have a level, which actually comes in really useful if you're doing any tripod work or long exposure work. That actually really comes in handy. Going to the front of the camera, you have an additional shutter button, which is really great if you're doing shooting vertical shots. And on that other shutter button, you actually have a lock. And that's really great because that actually locks both of the shutter buttons, the top and the front. So I don't worry about, if I throw it in my bag, I don't worry about, wasting a shot, again, because they are so expensive. There are 3 versions of the GW690. I do have version 3. From what I've heard, it's all pretty aesthetic differences. On the version 3, the body is more of a plastic shell. Which I know when you hear the term plastic you may think of as a negative, but it feels substantial. It doesn't feel cheap, it feels rugged. I'm never worried about it falling apart on me, and that makes it a bit lighter too, which I enjoy having a lighter camera. I actually traded in my RB67 for this camera because I wanted that more portability, which I really enjoy in this. The other difference is the lens. It has a rubber grip around the lens, which also feels really good. But honestly, any version that you choose, you're going to get a good camera. But going into the lens, you do have a 90mm fixed lens, and on a 6x9 format, that's going to give you roughly a 45mm field of view, which is a good normal focal length. So in order to get to the aperture and shutter speed, you have this lens hood that actually extends from the front of the camera. If I heard a negative about this camera, it's that people say it's difficult to change the shutter speed and aperture. Personally, I have pretty standard average size fingers, and I haven't run into an issue. It's been fine to use, but I could see if someone had some larger sausage fingers, them running into complications with that. But like I said, with me, I haven't run into an issue. The aperture does go from 3.5 to f32, and the shutter speed goes up to 1/500th of a second, which is plenty for me and what I'm shooting. But yeah, so that's the technical aspect of the camera. I really want to go into showing you actual images that I took. All the images that I'm showing you, I went on a little photo walk, and I shot on Portrait 400, exposed for 200. And I hope you guys like the images. I hope this little overview kind of explained the camera better. But yeah, so enjoy.